The city of Santa Cruz in Bolivia is known for its warm climate and growing skyline of high-end condo buildings. On the morning of April 27, 2021, that skyline became the backdrop for something no resident could forget. People walking along the base of a luxury high-rise heard a woman's voice cutting through the ordinary sounds of traffic and morning routines. When they looked up, they saw a young woman hanging from a window ledge on the 12th floor. Her hands were gripping the edge tightly. She was screaming for security, for help, for anyone to hear her. Inside the apartment, a young man stood at the same window. He did not reach out to pull her back. Witnesses on the street watched in frozen disbelief as the woman's hands began to slip. Within seconds, she fell. The crowd below could not process what had just happened, but before anyone could react further, barely 2 minutes later, the same man climbed onto that same ledge and jumped. 2 bodies now lay at the foot of the building. Police arrived quickly, sealing off the entire area with yellow tape. The initial confusion gave way to shock when investigators identified the deceased. They were not strangers to the public. They were Sarah Arauco and Dagner Rojas, a couple whose faces had been broadcast into living rooms across the country through their appearance on a popular reality television show. The nation held its breath, waiting for answers. Sarah Arauco was only 25 years old when she died. She lived with her parents and spent much of her energy building a future in digital media. Her TikTok account featured short, energetic entertainment videos that attracted a growing audience. She had real plans to turn that online presence into a full career. Her 26th birthday was approaching in May, and those close to her said she was looking forward to celebrating with friends and family. Dagner Rojas, her partner, was 23 and pursuing a degree in dental school. Before committing to medicine, he had trained as a mechanic. His relatives spoke of him as calm and ambitious, a student without any noticeable bad habits. Unlike Sarah, Dagner lived alone in that 12th floor apartment, a spacious unit with a wide view of Santa Cruz. The couple had been together for roughly 1 year. Their relationship appeared solid to anyone watching from the outside. They announced their engagement publicly, and a wedding date was set for May 11th.
The edited image they presented on television and social media showed no cracks. But just weeks before the planned ceremony, something changed. All wedding preparations stopped without explanation. The engagement was canceled. The public did not know it yet, but that cancellation was the first sign of a reality very different from the one the cameras had captured. When journalists began asking questions about the canceled wedding, Sarah's close friends started to speak. What they described did not match the calm and ambitious young man Dagner's family had portrayed. According to those friends, Dagner's behavior had become increasingly controlling over time. He placed strict limits on Sarah's online activity, regularly starting arguments over the videos she posted for her audience. He demanded that she step back from her public life. But the control was not limited to social media. People close to Sarah confirmed that Dagner had a quick temper and showed constant jealousy, even toward her oldest and closest friends. He required regular updates on her location throughout the day. He raised his voice often. He attempted to cut Sarah off from the people she normally spent time with, isolating her from her support network. One friend personally witnessed several
moments where Dagner lost control over situations that seemed minor or insignificant. Sarah began to understand that she had become trapped in a psychological grip. The pressure was relentless. She made the brave decision to put distance between herself and Dagner. That decision to break free from his control became the real reason the wedding was suddenly called off. Unfortunately, Dagner had no intention of letting her go easily. The engagement may have ended, but his hold on her was far from over.
Digital forensic specialists extracted every piece of data from the couple's phones to reconstruct what happened after the engagement fell apart. They recovered chat archives, call records, and complete activity logs. In the modern world, a digital trail records every second of communication, showing the true dynamic without any softening or excuses. The timeline began on Friday, April 23, 2021, exactly 4 days before the double fall at the high-rise. On that day, the messenger records showed a completely calm exchange. There was no tension or aggression in the messages. Sarah sent texts expressing strong emotional attachment to Dagner. He responded by giving her verbal permission to handle her own plans, but he also reinforced his control with one specific phrase. He told her that she was his woman. At first glance, it looked as though the two had reached an understanding and temporarily smoothed over their problems. But that stability did not last long. By Monday, April 26th, only 1 day before the fall, the messages showed a sharp and uncompromising shift in tone. Dagner started a verbal attack built entirely around harsh accusations. He directly accused Sarah of being cold toward him, complaining that he had trouble falling asleep because she had acted too distant and seemed uninterested in being near him at all. Sarah's replies to Dagner's accusations showed a clear change in her strategy. The message transcripts revealed how carefully she avoided direct confrontation. She wrote that there was no reason for him to worry, explaining her mood by saying that life simply has good days and bad days. She told Dagner directly that he needed to learn how to handle moments like that on his own. Her texts became
as restrained as possible, aimed only at calming down the resentment that was starting to build inside him. Sarah did not push the argument further. Instead, she agreed with him and promised to fix the things he was criticizing. Specialists who studied the phone archive immediately recognized a classic pattern seen in intense emotional mistreatment. Dagner was used to full compliance, and he clearly felt his influence slipping away fast. His accusations in the messenger chat were a familiar tool for regaining control by forcing guilt onto her. Sarah, meanwhile, chose distance. She gave him the bare minimum emotionally, trying not to provide another reason to start a fight. But the timeline proves that this tactic failed that very same evening. Her attempt to balance on the edge of politeness collapsed within just a few hours. Closer to midnight, the tone of their communication shifted so dramatically that photos of physical injuries and cruel messages would soon enter the picture. At 1:10 in the morning on April 27th, a new and much more aggressive conflict erupted in the messenger app. While the couple was apart, the text exchange turned into harsh mutual accusations mixed with insults. If just a day earlier the chat had shown an attempt to smooth things over, now the conversation moved into open confrontation. Sarah sent a short message saying, "Look what you did to me." Attached to the text was visual proof, a photo of her face. In that picture, which she also sent to an acquaintance, a large dark bruise was clearly visible. Then came a direct and uncompromising warning. She intended to contact her attorney and move forward with the matter officially. Dagner read those messages and reacted immediately. In his written replies, he did not even try to deny causing physical harm. Instead, he chose a different tactic and fired back with a counterclaim. He wrote, "Do you want to see what you did to me? You scratched my nose." He then stated that she had every right to contact whoever she wanted, showing a cold attitude toward the possible legal consequences. That brief exchange documented one crucial detail. Before this online conversation began, somewhere off camera, a serious physical clash had already taken place between them. The argument was no longer just verbal. It had become violent. From there,
the conversation took a genuinely alarming turn. Sarah said she was completely alone at that moment, locked inside her own car. She then changed the pressure point and laid down a hard ultimatum in a text message. She said she was planning to go to a pharmacy, buy vials, and pick up 10 strong sleeping pills. Her plan was spelled out with disturbing precision. She was going to take all of that medication at once while staying inside the locked car. She ended the message with a heavy, manipulative line, stating that whatever happened to her in the next few hours would be entirely his fault. At that point, a regular argument had fully shifted into a dangerous kind of emotional blackmail with a direct threat to her own well-being. That nighttime ultimatum became the trigger that set the next morning's events in motion. Tuesday morning arrived, and Sarah really did drive to the high-rise condo building. But she did not go inside immediately. She stayed behind the wheel of her
parked car. Their final text conversation began with Sarah asking Dagner to simply bring down the glasses she had left behind. She stated clearly that she had absolutely no intention of going upstairs. Dagner replied that she could come get them herself. The standoff had begun. Sarah insisted that Dagner come down with her things because she was already waiting outside. To make her point, she brought up her schedule. She had important classes ahead of her and an exam to take. She had no time for a long, emotional back and forth. Dagner sent back a short, "okay," but still refused to come outside. This is where the chat turned into a real game of escalating stakes. Sarah decided to follow through on her nighttime threat, at least in words. She told him she had already swallowed the pills she bought and was now just waiting for the medication to take effect. Dagner tried to call her, but the call dropped. He texted asking why she hung up and where she was. She sent back a short answer, saying she was taking them and that she was outside. Dagner did not take the bait. He directly accused her of lying, writing that she was a liar and that she had not taken anything. Sarah kept insisting that she took 10 capsules. Then Dagner immediately mirrored the situation. He said he had a headache, so he had just taken exactly 8 sleeping pills himself. The conversation hit a dead end. Both of them claimed to be in a serious condition. Both were only a few dozen yards apart, but physically separated by 12 floors of the building. Dagner made his next move by stopping the argument about medication. He asked Sarah to come upstairs using one simple line. "Okay, I want you to come up. I need you here with me." Sarah refused again. She kept asking him to come out to the car. He asked where exactly, and she repeated that she was outside. Then the final argument appeared in the text thread. Dagner sent his last message. "Come in. My leg hurts." After the late-night blow-ups, after the serious facial injuries captured in photos, and after Sarah had clearly said more than once that she was not going to step inside that building, one single line about physical pain worked like a perfect hook. She gave in under the pressure. Sarah got out of her car, walked into the lobby, and pressed the elevator button. The trap had closed. When she walked into the apartment, Dagner was not alone. His sister was there, along with her partner. Their presence created a natural barrier and temporarily paused the aggressive conflict that had been unfolding all night. Investigators later learned that Sarah seemed completely withdrawn, barely speaking and avoiding eye contact. The guests felt the tension and decided to leave the couple alone. In their rush, the heavy front door did not fully latch, leaving it slightly open. That slightly open door became the starting point of the final sequence. As soon as the guests moved away, events began moving at an alarming speed. Neighbors heard raised voices through the wall, followed by a sharp verbal back and forth. The argument quickly turned into a physical confrontation. People heard the unmistakable sounds of a serious struggle, including heavy crashes, hard impacts against walls, and large furniture being knocked over. Inside the apartment, solid objects started flying and breaking. Then a woman's voice cut through the chaos. From behind that slightly open door, Sarah's desperate scream carried into the shared hallway. She was calling for help, loudly begging neighbors to contact condo security and the police. One resident stepped out of his apartment, saw the door partly open, and made the brave decision to enter. He ran inside to find the room destroyed. Dagner stood by the windowsill. Before the neighbor could reach them, Sarah fell. Dagner then lunged toward the window. The neighbor grabbed him, but Dagner twisted free, climbed onto the ledge, and jumped. Forensic experts later confirmed Sarah had defensive wounds and blunt force trauma from inside the apartment. Dagner's family claimed it was an accident, but police classified it as intentional gender-based violence, followed by suicide. With Dagner dead, the case was closed. No trial, no verdict. Only the evidence remains.